Okay, I think we are going to start again. And I gave a little introduction before. What's all about this paper? So Yong Yeol Ahn and Sebastian Arnert, who are the two principal authors of the paper, are giving a joint talk as opposed to the slide. And yeah, I wish you all the fun.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll start the talk. My name is Yong Yeol Ahn, and you can call me YY. My wife, who is Korean, also call me YY, so it's fine. And first of all, I want to share a really nice photo I took yesterday. Oh. Oops. So, what's the answer to this question? Art plus science? Apparently, it's hair. And Isabel found it, and I took photos of it. Yeah. And I would like to warn you because it has some photo of appetizing material. And it's a collaboration with Sebastian here and James Bagro at Northwestern University and Lasso Barbashi at Northeastern University. Again, East West we have. So I want to open up with this question. Tell me what you eat, and then I'll tell you what you are. I think you have heard of it at some point. And it's true for panda because the bamboo trees define panda's life and panda's anatomy, panda's genes, and everything. The question is, what do we eat? And we eat these things, right? And hamburger is really good example because it contains grain, vegetable, fruit, meat, dairy products, like you name it. It's just a compressed culture of our food culture. So basically we are omnivores, means we eat everything, and that poses us a serious dilemma, which is we can eat everything. That means we need to choose, not like panda, we need to choose and combine food. And you should avoid mushrooms, this guy, and you need to really carefully select what to eat. And that's the challenging task, right? You need a big brain to do that. So the question is, how do we choose our food? When you eat something, why do you eat that thing? Maybe it's because delicious, right? And why is it delicious? One answer is energy. And that's why these things are awesome. It contains lots of fat, lots of sugar. That means provide lots of energy, make you fat. That means it tastes good. So we know about energy, and we know that even the newborn baby who never tasted anything before smile when you put sugar in it in the mouth. And the next question is, why do you eat something that makes babies like frown like this? For example, lemon, spices. Don't try at home. You don't need to try to your baby. And the question is, why do we eat spices? And there is a very interesting theory, which is called Darwinian gastronomy, and they suggested that the annual temperature is highly correlated with the use of spices, and that is like indication of the use of spices. Like the reason to use spices is preserving food. That's the basic idea. So we know roughly about some principles that governs our food culture. But the question is, are there any other principles that really transcend individuals and cultures? And like Sebastian came across with very interesting hypothesis by Francois Benji and Heston Blumenthal, which is two ingredients taste good together if they share flavor compound. And it just sounds like a network problem, right? Yeah, right? So they suggested several interesting combinations, but still, and there is even a company out of this. Oops. But the evidences are still anecdotal, and as scientists, we wonder whether it's really true or not. And is there any systematic approach to do that? And that's we come up with this network approach. So basically, we grab a big book and parsed it into a network of flavor compound and ingredient. Oops. Like garlic contains this molecules, blah blah, and this is the bipartite network between ingredient and compound. And you can project it to ingredient space to get the flavor network, which is ingredient connected by the shared compound relationship. And it looks like this. And we applied network backbone extraction method to see some structure of it. And if you apply it, it looks like this. Yeah, and we can see interesting patterns, but I will not talk in detail. By the way, I'll talk in more details in Thursday afternoon, so you can come to the session. So the question is, how can we know about the preference of people, right? And I think the easy answer is the recipes, because recipes are like protein combinations that we have been eating for a while. So we grabbed a big recipe data set, we crawled and parsed, super painful. And so finally we have a list of recipes, basically the set of ingredients. And we can naturally translate the food pairing hypothesis into a network problem, which is, are these subgraphs, the recipes, are really denser than expected? That means they share more compound than expected. So basically we enumerate these real recipes. We generated random recipes by shuffling the ingredient, preserving the frequency of each ingredient. And the answer is yes and no. Because there is a strong cultural variation. So North American cuisine tend to share more compound, while East Asian cuisine tend to share much less compound than expected. And we checked in different ways, and it shows the coherent pattern. And the next question was, can we identify some authentic ingredient of each cuisine? And we just defined authenticity of each ingredient, and each ingredient pairs, each ingredient triplet. And this is for East Asian cuisine. So basically soy sauce, scallion, sesame oil, these are the most authentic ingredient. And chili pepper, garlic, scallion is the most authentic combinations, the triplet in East Asian cuisine. In contrast to this East Asian cuisine, you can see very white and yellowish North American pyramid. And we can even draw a map of different cultures, how they are related in terms of usage of ingredients. And so we built this flavor network, and the food pairing principle doesn't seem to hold universally. And there is some cultural variation that we can dig into more. And I'll pass the baton to Sebastian.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I can do this. Yeah. Great. So yes, I just want to provide some context to YY's talk, and also present a new result which we've found since. So over the past years, 20 years, there's been a revolution in biology, as probably all of you know, and we can now read genomes. We can measure the expression levels of thousands of genes simultaneously. We know a lot about the three-dimensional structure of thousands of proteins and protein complexes. And in other words, biologists now deal with huge amount of data. as a result, they had to essentially invent new fields, as many of you know as well, I'm sure. Bioinformatics, computational biology, and perhaps most importantly, systems biology. Now, the important thing here is that systems biology aims to study biological processes on a large scale and making use of collective measurements and theoretical modeling. And what's important as well is that systems biology is not the answer. It's just going to provide us with a new way of looking for interesting problems on the micro level. And now you might wonder, why am I talking about biology? It's because this shows the trend that we see in many other fields, namely that it's just that biology is a bit ahead of a lot of other fields like the arts and humanities in this respect. And it's useful to look at systems biology as an example of how the application of large data analysis methods might evolve in other fields such as the arts and humanities. So, as you all know, we've got data-driven revolutions in other fields. We've got in linguistics, as we were seeing yesterday. And there's also this really nice result that was the subject of a talk last year at the Arts and Humanities Satellite, where there was a talk given by was it Lieberman or was it Jean-Baptiste Michel? Yeah. And there's a really nice result. They looked at 12 centuries of English texts and found a quantitative relationship that tells you how fast does an irregular verb become a regular verb. And it's a very quantitative relationship. It's the half-life of an irregular verb scales as the square root of its usage frequency. So if we use a verb often, then it stays irregular for longer. Now, what's interesting is that the authors of this... Oops. What's that? Let me just restart it and see. Yeah, they come from fields like evolutionary biology, applied mathematics, and systems biology, and they wrote a paper about language. So it's a good example of how interdisciplinary this kind of research has become. And we find many, as I'm sure a lot of you know, we find digital humanities research centers everywhere. And we see people like art historians, archaeologists, literature scholars now using network analysis. And what YY was showing here is exactly that. We're trying to take the systems biology approach and large-scale data analysis and applying it to a completely new field, which is culinary culture and foods and flavors. And I'm just going to add to that by talking about a new result. YY's the paper that YY was talking about, we looked at flavor compounds shared by ingredients, and we compared this to recipe data sets to see if the shared compound hypothesis is true. And as YY showed you, we found some support for this hypothesis in some cuisines, but in other cuisines, there seems to be an inverse picture. Now, the problem is that recipe data sets are highly complex, and recipes contain information on ingredients, but also on relative quantities of ingredients, on cooking techniques. And recipe ingredients are not just there for flavor, they might also be there for texture or structure of the dish. And can we get a clearer picture with some new data? And the good answer is yes. But, there are 3 new types of data. First of all, we've got now a list of flavor pairings created by chefs from experience. So it's just pairwise combinations of which foods taste good together according to experts. These are published in something called the Flavor Bible, and it's a book published in the US by Karen Page and Andrew Dornberg. And then we also have access to a new chemical database, which is called the VCF database. It's a commercial database. We were given access for research purposes, and this gives us tells us again which compounds are in which foods, but it's much more comprehensive than the one that Waira was talking about, the Fenaroli data. And it also has the advantage that we now know more about the relative concentrations. So in the paper, we don't know which compounds are dominant in a food, but with this data we do. Thirdly, we also made use of the descriptions of compounds. So each compound, flavor chemists have come up with a description for how it smells, and you can analyze that data as well. And so you might get something strong, fruity odor and sweet pineapple-like tastes, woody green, piney balsamic odor, or unpleasant skunk odor. So now that we have the descriptions, the flavor Bible, and the VCF database, what is the result? And so I'll just explain this. Is a pointer? Oh, no, not a pointer. Basically, from left to right, you see. So what we've done here is we've put a threshold on the concentration. That means from left to right, we're considering more and more dominant compounds. So here we're only considering compounds that have a high concentration. That only so these are the most dominant compounds in the ingredients. Whereas here we've got no threshold at all. We're considering all compounds, and this is a continuum. And the blue bars are if we consider all compounds within that. The green is if we only consider those with a flavor description, and yellow is if we only consider those with a flavor description that incorporates food. So what this means is that basically this was the old hypothesis that we were testing in the paper, and what this seems to show is that if foods share dominant flavor compounds that have food aromas, they are more likely to taste good together. So it's kind of a refined version of the shared compound hypothesis, which this plot provides evidence for. And the even bigger conclusion is that culinary science can benefit from large-scale data analysis, which is why I called the talk computational gastronomy. So, you've already met my collaborators on Wairai's slide, and I would like to thank Ben Nyssen for the VCF data. And thanks for the attention.
Thank you very much. First, the next speaker, please set up your computer or your slides if possible in the meantime. So we have 2 minutes, we have time for questions, and so who's ready? The guy just behind, I will hand you a microphone, just give me a second. Oh, you didn't have a question? Okay, then there's a question over there.
I just had a quick question about your revised hypothesis. I'm just wondering, do you think that means that the compounds that don't have food aromas are extraneous, or just they add some uniqueness to the food? Like, what do you think is going on there? They're just put in there to make the recipe longer? I don't know.
I don't know. So these are flavor compounds that smell of food aromas. So I guess I have to go quickly. That might be clear. So what? So
No. I mean, yeah. You're saying that the ones that have food aromas are important. So I'm saying the ones that don't have food aromas.
Yes, the chemical compounds.
Yeah, the compounds that.
In the food ingredients.
Right.
So is that clear?
So
it's food. So apple will have a bunch of like an apple will have like 200 flavor compounds. Some of those compounds, if you isolate them, will smell of food aromas like strawberry, apple, raspberry, lemon, and some of those compounds will not smell of. So
but
I see. So it's
there are compounds that smell sweet or fruity, but not like apple or strawberry. So I think we remove this. So yeah.
Oh, so it's just a cleaner set of data, basically. Is what you're looking at.
I mean, more clear, like clearly identifiable case smell.
Let's thank the speakers again.